Lesson 10. Stopping the Cycle of Abuse. Introduction. The ideal solution to the problem of domestic violence is to end it. This is easier said than done. It is a cycle that has been going on for thousands of years. If we can learn to recognize the warning signs of potential abuse, however, we can learn to avoid relationships with those who are likely to commit domestic violence. There are also programs today to help abusers learn to control their actions and learn how to effectively communicate. Although there is still debate on how effective these programs are, it is a step in the right direction. Recognizing the potential abuser. Many women who are victims of domestic violence say, "It was completely unexpected. There were not any warning signs. He was so charming." At first glance, that may seem true, but if you closely analyze the relationships they had with their abusers, there were often red flags that seemed very small at the time. The problem is that abusers become very skilled at dressing up these red flags with the trimmings of charm and romance so that they seem to be the signs of passionate love and a romantic nature. These predators can fool even the most level-headed individual, so be aware of these signs and pay attention. Some signs that may mean trouble down the line include overriding your decisions. If your partner repeatedly overrides your choices by saying little things like, "Oh no, I am sure you would prefer this one," and then explains that he is just looking out for you, think twice. This can be a subtle form of manipulation. He may be trying his hand at forcing his own choices on you. Remember, you are an adult and capable of making your own decisions. Wanting to know where you are all the time. He may disguise this as being worried about you, but again, you are an adult. If you already told him you were going out with friends, then constant questions are out of line. His worry is simply jealousy. You have the right to a life of your own apart from him. Do not let him rule your every moment. He is highly sensitive to criticism. It may seem endearing the first time he overreacts to a mild criticism. Isn't it nice that your opinion matters so much? But this will wear thin after a while. After all, adults who are too thin-skinned require constant praise and reassurance and do not have much self-esteem. He points out your flaws. If you ask for his opinion, this is fine, but unsolicited criticism is not needed. It is simply mean-spirited. If he replies that he is only trying to help, run for the hills. He is trying to change you into someone else. He tells you what to wear. No, this is not a sign that he is really paying attention to you and your wardrobe. It is a sign that he is treating you like a Barbie doll he wants to dress up. His jokes are at your expense. Teasing you or embarrassing you in front of others is demeaning, not affectionate. He falls in love quickly and completely. Adult relationships and fairy tale romances are two different things. One is real, the other is not. If it feels like he is moving too quickly, it is a gut feeling you should pay attention to. He may try to exert pressure and control over you very quickly. Sadly, many women feel some kind of doubt about men who sweep them off their feet, but push those doubts to the back of their minds because, on the surface, these people seem so romantic. Counseling for abusers. Counseling is now available in almost every state for domestic abusers. While there is a great deal of debate raging over how effective these programs really are, it is obvious that they are a step in the right direction. There are several different types of counseling programs based on different psychiatric and therapeutic models, but most have several key things in common, including a focus on the abuser taking responsibility for his or her actions. There has been some success in counseling in which those who commit domestic abuse have been able to learn to redirect their anger and need for control into channels that are more appropriate and save their marriages. However, these are usually cases where the domestic abuse has been caught relatively early on in the relationship and the abuse has not yet escalated into severe, debilitating violence against the spouse or partner. The longer the abuse has gone on and the more severe the injury sustained by the victim, the less likely it is that counseling for the abuser will be effective. Another indicator of the likelihood of success of counseling for abusers is the length of counseling. Generally, a commitment to at least a year of regular therapy, both individual and group, is the best indicator of success. Most abusers initially enter therapy as part of a court-ordered intervention program, although some enter a domestic violence prevention program voluntarily. The most effective domestic violence intervention program should place a priority on the safety of the victim, have a minimum requirement for attendance, and then it cuts off. Page 65. The goal of these programs is to teach abusers techniques for communicating non-violently, creating a safety net or timeout to protect the victims whenever a confrontation escalates, provide mentors and support groups, and help the abusers to recognize why they are acting out on their loved ones. One important feature of these programs is the signal that will be agreed upon between the abuser and the abused that is to be used any time that an argument or situation may be escalating toward violence. This hand signal can be used by either partner and must be respected by both, and it means that the argument must immediately stop while both sides retreat to separate rooms to cool off for an agreed length of time. The sign should be nonverbal so that it does not contribute to the argument. Signs that therapy may be working. Sometimes an abuser is genuinely committed to change and commits himself fully to changing the ways he interacts with his partner. He recognizes that the problem is his responsibility and that he must make the changes. In this case, the victim will begin to see some very real changes in his behavior that indicates a positive step towards healing and change. These might include no more violence or threatening gestures, acknowledgments that he has been wrong in the past, an apology for his past behavior. He no longer tries to make all of the decisions or tries to control your actions. He can disagree with you without frightening you or intimidating you. He lets you express your opinion without becoming angry or judgmental. He lets you say no. He has become empathetic and learns to see situations from other points of view, not from just his own. He is trying to make amends for his mistakes. He does not question you about everything you did or did not do during the day. On the other hand, there are definite signs that therapy isn't working, that victims of domestic abuse should pay clear attention to. If he says, "I am not the only one who needs counseling," he is trying to excuse his problem by saying that others do it. If he says, "I'm not as bad as some of the others in my group," he is trying to minimize his problem in comparison to others. If he claims that he will be cured as soon as the course is done, he is just going through the motions and does not understand that recovery is a long, difficult process, not just a set of classes. The one thing a victim of abuse should never do. Victims of domestic abuse should never suggest or participate in couples counseling or marriage counseling. This type of counseling is wonderful for most marriages that are struggling with a variety of issues, but it can be very dangerous for couples where one partner is abusing the other. In some cases, it even escalates the level of violence in the home. Couples counseling does not work in domestic violence situations because couples counseling puts responsibility on both partners. However, violence is the sole responsibility of the abuser. Couples counseling works only when both partners are open, honest, and ready to make changes. Abusers minimize their own faults, deny the truth, and blame others for their own problems. They do not tell the truth in counseling. Couples in counseling talk openly about a variety of problems. Her abuser may punish a victim of abuse who tells a counselor about the abuse. If she keeps silent, she is lying by omission and giving even more power to her abuser, and nothing will change. The only time that couples counseling or marriage counseling can be considered is when and if the abuser has successfully completed individual and group therapy for abusers and shown, preferably for at least a year, that he has changed his ways. If he understands his own issues and can truly be a partner who lives with you without becoming abusive, then you can consider couples counseling if you feel that it might help at that point. Conclusion. There are no reliable statistics on how effective counseling and therapy are at reforming domestic abusers, although there have been plenty of episodic case studies where marriages have been saved with the proper intervention. Like many other kinds of abuse, relapse is common, but is not a foregone conclusion. With dedication, sincerity, and lots of determination, abusers can learn to cope with the underlying issues that trigger their abuse and how to channel those reactions into more suitable outlets. Only the partner of an abuser can decide if they can rebuild the broken trust and are willing to take the chance to salvage a relationship with their abuser. If not, those men who have successfully completed a domestic abuse program will hopefully be able to learn something that they can use in their next healthier relationship.